Oh man, it's been a journey. Hi, you guys. I'm Dana, and welcome back to Inverter Always. So I just recorded my entire video and went back to review it and edit it. Realized that my microphone didn't work, and all the audio was captured through my camera. It sounded horrible. Oh, I guess that's what I get for being gone for a couple weeks, you guys. I am sorry I got sick, and then I lost my voice. So it's been a rough end of April, beginning of May. But yeah, we're back at it. It's Mother's Day weekend for all you moms watching these technical videos. Thank you, first of all, for joining and tuning in. But you guys, more importantly, happy Mother's Day. Hope you guys all have a fun and safe weekend. So let's go ahead and let's jump into today's video. We're going to be focusing on the Daikin Navigation Remote Controller. If you guys follow the channel, you know that I've talked about the NAV Controller tons and tons and tons. We've done just about everything there is to do on the NAV Controller. Except for a couple things. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was how to calibrate the thermistor that's built into the NAV controller. It does not always display accurately. It's usually not off by much, but when you need to change it, this is the video for you guys. It's going to be pretty easy to change it. Let's go ahead and jump in. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please click the like button below. Of course, if you enjoy these videos and you haven't already, please consider subscribing. All right, let's jump right in. One quick thing before we jump into today's content, you guys, we gotta do member shout outs. Members, becoming a member, it's a great way to support the channel. Float a little love my way for making these videos. A lot of time, a lot of effort. You know, it's the weekend, taking time out of my personal life to make these videos to help all of you. Greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. Of course, you can subscribe, that's free, but if you guys do want to give me a little something, you can become a member. Shout out to our members, Clint. Clint upgraded last month and he's now a VRF Rockstar. Awesome, attaboy, thank you very much. Along with Nick and Daniel and Genty. You guys are all VRF Rockstars and I really appreciate it. A few other entry-level inverter members to speak of. Michael, we've got Brian, Nathan. Thank you guys for your membership pledges. Nathan's actually a local guy, does great work. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate all of your support, man. You guys actually don't have to become members anymore. I just got an email that my videos now qualify for super thanks. So right underneath the video descriptions, as you're looking at the share option and the like and the dislike, it's there too. You don't have to click the dislike if you don't want to, though. There's also a super thanks. So if there's a particular video out there that really helps you out, you guys can click the super thanks button. Give me a little love. I appreciate it. And you don't have to join and become a member with a monthly subscription. It's just another way of you guys showing your support. So I do appreciate all of your guys' support. Now let's get down to business. All right, so first things first, I basically hooked up the NAV controller that we've played with in the past, just ran some wire over to my garage unit so that we're looking at my wall mount here. We're gonna pretend, the room temperature on a new install is not displaying accurately. How do we change it? I'm gonna give you guys the how-to first, and then we'll go into a little bit more explanation. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get into the NAV controller field settings. Very easy to do this. As you can see, I've illuminated the backlight. Always illuminate the backlight first. And then you need to go into the service settings menu. You do that by holding the cancel button. Shh, don't tell anyone I told you. Be very careful in here, as we've discussed in pretty much all the videos I've done with controllers. These are factory settings that we're about to change. And if you change the wrong setting, there's no undo, there's no factory reset. So you do need to be careful here. Don't just go to town because you found a sheet on Google or you found some dude's video on YouTube and trust him. Always do your own research. Make sure you're going from paper to the NAV controller, because I could be totally blowing smoke for all you know. When you get into the field settings, you're going to go down to mode 1 Charlie. 1 Charlie is a NAV controller setting. So in previous videos, we've talked about these settings are stored on the indoor unit board. This particular group of settings is actually stored on the NAV controller. You're going to go over to setting number 10. At least in North America, the default setting for 10 is option 7, 10-07. And that is a 0 degree offset, 0 degrees Celsius, 0 degree Fahrenheit offset. So there's zero calibration that has been done from the factory on the thermistor that is built in to the NAV controller just here in the bottom corner. You can see I'm working on a BRC 1E73, which in the North American market is the latest and greatest But the same setting works for the BRC 1E72s, 1E71s, etc., etc. Now, from this point here, you can go down in a 0.9 degree increment. Fahrenheit, it's 0.5 degrees Celsius. So if I was to go down to 10-06, that would reduce the room temperature display by 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit or 0.5 degrees Celsius. One more degree is another 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.8 degrees total, or 1 degree Celsius. And of course, I can go all the way down to 10-01. This is as far as I can go, which is a minus 5.4 degree Fahrenheit offset, or a minus 3 degrees Celsius offset. I cannot go any further than this. Now, to be honest with you guys, I don't know if I've ever seen a NAV controller be quite that far off. Usually it's, more like 10-05 or 10-06. It's 1 degree above what a calibrated thermostat or calibrated meter is displaying. We're going to go ahead, we're going to go back to 10-07. That is the default, again, 0 degree offset, because your room temperature that is displayed may be lower than what the actual room temperature is. So just like we can go down, from 10:07 to 10:01, we can also go up. If we go up to 10-08, that is going to add a 0.9 degree offset, so 0.5 degrees Celsius offset. And if we go up to 10-09, that's 1.8, 2.7, 3.6, 4.5, 5.4 degrees. So 10-13, we're going to add a 5.4 degree Fahrenheit offset to that initial calibration of 0, which would be a plus 3 degree Celsius offset. Again, usually you don't have to go this far. Usually you need to adjust it maybe 1 degree up, 1 degree down. So let's just say that the room temperature that was being read was reading 1 degree over what the actual room temperature was. You're going to change it then, 10-06, 0.9 degree offset, hit OK. Yes, hit OK on save so that it actually saves. And then go ahead and cancel out. And now our room temperature displayed is 77. It's really important that we talk about a couple things here, though. You'll notice that as we are changing the calibration, we are not changing it in full degree increments. So I would have to go back and look before we started, but I'm pretty sure it said 77 before we started when we first went to the NAV controller. So it didn't actually change anything. The reason it didn't change anything is because all of the control within these units is by default programmed as Celsius internally. It is then converted from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And then once it's converted to Fahrenheit, it is rounded to the nearest number and displayed as a whole number on the controller. So it is very well possible that it is rounding up to 77. It could actually be 76 point something degrees Fahrenheit, or it's rounding down to 77. It could be 77 point something degrees Fahrenheit. We don't know because all we can see is the whole number. The reason I bring this up is because, especially recently, it seems like these calls come in waves. But over the last couple of weeks, as I was kind of feeling down, kind of lost my voice, I had numerous people call, text, email about the NAV controller calibration being off on their jobs. And, they had homeowners or end users at commercial buildings, offices, schools, you name it, calling and saying, hey, the old thermometer I got on the wall is reading one temperature and the NAV controller is reading another temperature. How do I change it? And that sparked the concept of this video today. But what I want to get at here is you kind of need to be careful, because if you are standing in front of the NAV controller and let's say it reads, 77 degrees like mine does in here. My office is not actually 77 degrees. I've been sitting here with the NAV controller in my hand for the last half hour, recording this whole video twice now. So it's warmed up the thermistor in the NAV controller. Your room might actually only be 72, 73. That doesn't necessarily mean that because you're standing in front of the NAV controller, you need to do an offset of 4.5 degrees. Because I guarantee as soon as you walk away for a little while and you give that NAV controller some time to acclimate to that offset adjustment, the air starts to move around that NAV controller in the space, you're going to notice that all of a sudden it's going to be reading off in the opposite direction. Now it's going to be reading too cold. It's going to be reading below what the actual room temperature is. And then you're going to do another offset. The last thing you want to do is get into this habit of doing these offsets back and forth, back and forth. So anytime you're doing a startup or coming back for a service call or a, just a callback in general, service maintenance, whatever, if you're going to be changing the calibration, I recommend that you only change it one increment at a time. Unless, of course, you're nowhere near the NAV controller. You have it set up where you can see that room temperature. No one stood by it for, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That is the display. It's acclimated. You shoot it with your infrared gun, and you can see that the room temperature is clearly substantially off. Obviously, then change it as needed. But most of the time, you don't need to do that. Most of the time, you only need to bump it a degree or two from 10-07 to 10-06, maybe 10-05, or 10-07 to 10-08, maybe 10-09. You really, most of the time, like 99.42069% of the time, you don't need to change it more than that. So what I noticed is folks will often call in and they'll say, hey, it's 0.8 degrees off. This happened earlier today. But I got a call and a client said that their thermometer and their NAV controller were 0.8 degrees apart. I'm like, great. It's fine. What's the problem? It's within a degree. Well, that was a problem. Oh no, it needs to be dialed in. I'm like, well, it's not going to. It's Celsius converted to Fahrenheit, rounded to the nearest number. Like, maybe it is actually within 0.2 degrees, but it's rounding to the nearest number. It's rounding up. If you go and change it, if it's really that big of a problem and you change that offset 0.9 degrees, great. Maybe it displays the same number as the other thermometer you have in the space, but as soon as you walk away, you let it acclimate again, and as soon as it goes down that little decimal point internally and does the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit and then rounds it to the nearest number, now it's going to be reading a degree lower. So now you just did the offset for no reason. Anytime it's within a degree, just leave it there. Because again, it's rounding and converting. And at that point, we're just being silly. So if it's within a degree, you're good to go. And now you guys know how to change the calibration if you absolutely need to. So you can play around with that. Don't change any of the other settings. So there's a bunch of other settings that showed up. We didn't talk about those settings. So again, unless you're going from the paper to the controller, don't change those settings. Otherwise, you're going to screw something up, I promise. So you guys, that's about it for today. I told you it's a pretty easy video. There's one other thing I wanted to show you guys. So since we're talking about Celsius and Fahrenheit, if you guys don't like Fahrenheit and you want to switch it to Celsius, all you have to do is go to the main menu, go down to where it says Celsius Fahrenheit. I know, right? Crazy. And then you can change it from Celsius to Fahrenheit or from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then you can display it that way. So at least then you get rid of the conversion if you're a Celsius person. I'm in the United States. Pretty much everybody I know here uses Fahrenheit. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave it as Fahrenheit. But yeah, if you guys need to, at least I figured since we're talking about Celsius and Fahrenheit, I should probably at least show you how to do that too. So you guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please click the like button below. Of course, if you haven't already and you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing. You guys, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate. Put them in the comments below. I read all of your guys' comments. Any questions, I do my best to always get back to you on. Of course, channel members are going to get priority. I'm going to respond to those questions first, but I will get to everybody, I promise, eventually. So guys, if you enjoyed today's video, click the like button below. It really helps out my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Guys, thanks so much for watching Inverter always. Hope you guys all have an awesome day. And also, for all you moms out there, happy Mother's Day.